Chapter 10 of A Lucky Penny by a Self-Made Man. This LibriVox recording is in the public domain. Chapter 10 The Lucky Penny. The impetus his body had acquired, as well as the weight of the little girl, sent Tom Garland staggering toward the opposite curb, and he would have pitched forward onto the sidewalk, but a stalwart spectator grabbed him as he was falling. "By George!" exclaimed the gentleman admiringly as Tom recovered his equilibrium. "That was the nerviest act I ever saw. Young man, you deserve a medal." The child's eyes rested in startled wonder on her rescuer's face. She hadn't uttered a cry, and still clutched the coin, a bright new penny, in her chubby fist. Naturally, a crowd began to collect around Garland. A few of these people had seen the gallant rescue. Most of them hadn't, and wanted to know what the excitement was about. Quite a number of persons were also craning their necks out of neighboring windows, for the woman's scream had attracted general attention. So far not a policeman had turned up. It seems generally the case that when anything out of the ordinary occurs, the police officer happens to be at the other end of his beat. Of course, it isn't the policeman's fault. He can't be everywhere at once. Tom Garland found himself the object of much curiosity. He rather resented this attention on the part of the public. He began to realize that he had performed a remarkable feat, that he had saved a little human life by ready wit and fearlessness. But he thought this was something which concerned the mother of the child rather than the curious throng of spectators whose increasing numbers kept her from learning that her dear one had escaped absolutely uninjured. Finally a lane was made for the lady, closely followed by Dick Rogers, to reach the spot where Tom stood, holding the little girl in his arms. The child had now missed its mother. The staring people frightened her, and she started to cry. "My darling!" cried the woman hysterically, pushing her way toward her. "You're not hurt, are you?" "No, ma'am," answered Tom, reaching forward and passing the little girl into her arms. "She's all right." The mother, of course, clasped her precious one to her breast and kissed and sobbed over her as mothers naturally will do under the circumstances. "Come, Dick, let's get a move on," said Tom as soon as his lame chum had reached his side. As they made a start to elbow their way out of the mob, the lady woke up to the fact that she had not thanked the brave boy for saving her child. "I can't express how grateful I am to you for what you have done for my child," she said to Tom, detaining him by the arm. "Don't mention it, ma'am. I am sufficiently repaid in knowing that I was instrumental in preventing a tragedy. You will let me know your name, won't you?" she asked eagerly. "Certainly. But you will permit me to escort you out of this crowd first?" The lady was most willing for him to do that. Fortunately, the belated policeman now turned up, and as it was his duty to inquire into the cause of the blockade of a public thoroughfare, he began to scatter the crowd to make a pathway for himself. "What's the trouble?" he inquired of Tom. Of course the mob closed in again, if anything thicker than ever, for the cop was tall, and his head above the center of the crowd was a potent magnet to draw many new arrivals. "I'll tell you all about it if you'll just get us away from here." "Stand back there, please," cried the officer. "Make a lane." He led the way and drew the objects of all the attention out of the assemblage and into a jewelry establishment close by. The mob, however, was not to be eluded entirely. They gathered about the doorway of the store and in front of the show window, and satisfied their curiosity as best they could at a respectful distance. The officer took out his notebook, and Tom detailed in a few words what had happened. "What is your name?" asked the policeman. "Tom Garland. Residence?" That floored the boy. Not till that moment did he realize the advantage of even a temporary abiding place. He felt that he was in a suspicious position. The cop looked at him very hard when he observed a hesitation on the part of the boy to answer. Finally, on the spur of the moment, he decided to give the street and number of his late home at Mr. Sleek's, and did so. The officer then took the lady's name and address. That wound up the official formula, and the policeman went outside and busied himself scattering the crowd. "Promise me you will call at my home soon, Mr. Garland," said the lady, whose name was Rockwell, taking a card from her pocketbook and offering it to the boy. "If I remain in Boston, I shall do so with pleasure," replied Tom politely. "You think of leaving the city, then?" she asked. "I have not yet made up my mind what I shall do." "At least I will expect you to call before you go," she said earnestly. "I will try to, Mrs. Rockwell. My husband will certainly desire to meet you. He will be much disappointed if you should fail to do so." Tom bowed. "Say good-bye to the brave young gentleman who saved your life, dear," said the lady to the child. "This is my little daughter, May." "Goodbye, May," said Tom, offering his hand. "Goodbye. Who is a nice boy?" She held out the closed fist which held the penny, the innocent cause of all the trouble, and as Garland took it in his own, she opened her fingers and let the coin fall into his hand. "May give this to oo," she said with a cute smile. Then she and her mother left the store. "Here's my reward," grinned Tom as he held up the bright cent for Dick to see. "I hope it will bring you luck," said Dick. "We need a little of that article badly enough just now." "I should think we did, Tom." "Well, Dick, shall I invest it in the morning paper?" "That would be the end of it," replied the lame boy regretfully. "That's right. But if there is any luck in the penny, I ought to find a situation through the Help Wanted column. I think you ought to keep the penny as a souvenir of your thrilling experience of the morning. The state of our finances won't permit us to keep such an expensive souvenir as a penny when we'll purchase a newspaper, one of whose advertisements might point the way to fortune," said Tom with a grin. "It's your penny to do as you like with," replied Dick with a long glance at the bright piece which Tom held in his fingers. "I'll tell you what I'll do," said Garland as an idea struck him. "I'll toss up the penny. Heads it goes to a paper, tails it does not." "Well," said the lame boy. Then he added, "I hope it comes down tails." Tom flipped the coin. The morning sun sparkled on it as it came down, struck the pavement, and then rolled a yard away into the gutter. "What do you think it is?" asked Tom as they moved toward it. "Let me see," cried Dick, quickening his pace. "All right, but you mustn't cheat, remember." "I won't," returned the lame boy. He stooped down and extended his little thin hand to pick it up. Then he uttered an exclamation of astonishment. "Look, Dick, look!" he cried, pointing. "What's the matter, chum?" Tom bent down to see what attracted Dick's attention and excited him. The penny lay tail up on a dirty, rumpled $5 bill. The boy didn't lose a moment in picking up both penny and note. $5! he ejaculated. "Well, this is luck for fair. Didn't I say that penny ought to bring you good luck? And it has," cried Dick in great delight. "Now you can buy a paper and still keep the penny as a souvenir." "Sure I can. Dick, old chappie, we don't need to go hungry today, as I had a suspicion we might be obliged to do, nor need we hunt up a lumber yard in which to stow our weary limbs after dark. Before this has been spent, I ought to be able to find a job." At a neighboring corner, Tom purchased a copy of a morning daily and immediately proceeded to look up the Help Wanted advertisements. He picked out a half-dozen places, the duties of which, as outlined, he believed he was competent to perform. "Now, lucky penny," he addressed the bright coin, "I look to you for a job." Slipping it into his vest pocket, the two boys started on their quest. End of chapter 10.